Okay. We've got some we've got some families joining us and we'll have some more people filter in. I'm seeing some names start to join in, so I'm happy to see that. My name is Mrs. James, and I'm the lead counselor here at Plano Senior High School. So if you're from Plano Senior High School, welcome. But if you're joining us from one of the other high schools in our district, you are welcome here as well. With me tonight, I'm joined by Lisa Goodwin. She is the Assistant Director for Financial Aid and Scholarships at UNT. And so tonight we're going to give you guys an overview of the different types of financial aid, of how to apply for financial aid, specifically using the FAFSA or the TASFA. And we will most likely have some time for some questions at the end. So as we're going through the presentation, if you have questions, I'm going to ask you to put those in the chat, and then so that Ms. Goodwin can, keep the pace of her presentation. And then at the end, if your question hasn't been answered, we'll start going through those questions that are in the chat. So again, my name is Mrs. James. I'm that lead counselor at Plano Senior High, and I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Goodwin. She's joining us from UNT. And before she begins, I do want to make sure that I highlight that though she is the Assistant Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships at UNT. The information that she's going to present is going to be applicable to most colleges and universities, especially here in Texas. And I do, though, want to give a plug for UNT. It is one of the top schools that our students here in Plano attend. They are very generous with their merit-based scholarships, which I think she's going to talk a little bit about as well during the presentation. So if you have not applied to UNT, I encourage you to do so. They even have a preview day coming up in March that is, it's only about an hour or so away for you guys to go and visit their wonderful campus. But even if UNT isn't on your list or isn't on your list yet, the information that that she'll be presenting is going to apply for wherever you might be looking. Okay, so with that, I am going to turn it over to Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna, and thank you everyone for joining us. It's so great to have the opportunity to visit and connect with students and parents that are interested in pursuing what's going to be a really interesting part of your child's life. As a student, I know you are likely excited about all the opportunities, and you've done lots of work to get to this point, preparing to go to the next phase of education. We hope you're excited about things that interest you and different degrees. UNT has many, many degrees to select from. And the most important thing to know about when you're pursuing your education is that it is an education, and you don't have to know 100% what you're going to do when you start. It's really important to have a good base plan and take advantage and prepare and go from there. So having said that, I'm going to say thanks in advance to Giovanna for moving us forward in my slides when they come through. And I know that everyone usually has their phones with them. Please feel free to take snips of the presentation materials that we provide. Like she said, these are basic processes that will apply to pretty much any college campus. This is my 5th college campus. And our main goal is to make everyone comfortable with asking questions and with basic processes so that it's not something you want to put off, that you're comfortable going and looking at information and exploring and helping us help you, or whatever financial aid office that you end up with at your school. So
before you begin, I do want to jump in and say this. I'm sorry, I meant to say at the beginning. I am recording this. If you're a Plano Senior High family, it's going to be linked to our newsletter. If you're not Plano Senior High, I will send the recording to the lead counselors at the other campuses so that they can get that to you as well. Okay, now I'm done.
No worries, thanks. So the 4 things that are really helpful to you are in these 4 circles. Apply early. You're going to apply every year. Be aware Make it a point to know about deadlines. Make it a point to explore what your options are. This is your education. This is your opportunity to do what you want, and be aware of what's out there to help you, because there are many, many things out there to help you. I'll say specifically at UNT, when you come to UNT, part of what you pay for when you pay your tuition is that you are accessing all the resources that we have available for every single student. Our learning center, our career development, we have free tutoring when you're enrolled at UNT. So there are lots of things that you can access when you're there. Let's go to the next slide, okay, Giovanna? So this is just a really simple, what is financial aid? Because it's interesting in the world that we live in that lots of people still ask that question. And so financial aid is the best kind, which are grants that generally don't have to be repaid. There are phenomenal student loan programs. I know you hear a lot about that in the media, and we certainly want every family to be able to explore what's available to them and know about student loans. If you're not comfortable taking out loans, we certainly want you to be aware, because it is the largest financial aid program that's available to students and families. And work study is a program that is unique to financial aid. It is where the government and the state partner with the institution so that the family and the student have the opportunity to perhaps work on campus, and for those earnings not to be considered in their next year's in the next application that they're applying for financial aid. A college campus is one of the best work environments you will ever be in for the rest of your life. That whole campus, wherever you're going to school, is set up so that it's available to you to help you learn, about how you're going to be a great employee in the field that you're exploring, to learn about what is interesting to you. Oftentimes, so many times over the years, like I said, I've been at many institutions and I have stories from everywhere of students that come to me and they're like, oh, Miss Goodwin, I would have never known that if I hadn't have taken a job doing X. And it wasn't really what I was interested in my degree, but it gave me a chance to do something different. And I felt like I was helping, and it helped me see what it was I wanted to do in my career. Let's try the next one, Giovanna. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, grants and loans and work study. And again, grants generally do not have to be repaid, but this is why that very first slide was important. You want to apply early because our bucket is limited. We get a set amount of grant funding. We are always going to expend all of it. And the thing about it is we're not going to have funds for everyone. But if you apply early and we run out of funds and somebody doesn't come, we're going to keep awarding those funds because our goal is net zero. We don't want to be left with any funds that haven't been used. Once again, I talked about student loans. Student loans are the largest program that we administer. There are a phenomenal number of students that don't have any other eligibility other than student loan eligibility for whatever reason, whether it's their family's income that is limiting their student loan eligibility, or they don't have a relationship with their family, and for whatever reason we want to make sure that they can access those loan resources just in case, so that it can help them with their education. There's also Parent Plus loans, and we certainly appreciate parents that are able and willing to assist with the Parent Plus loan. But one thing to keep in mind, and we can talk about this later if anybody has questions, is that yes, there are two kinds of student loans. Subsidized means that the government is going to subsidize the interest while you're in school, and those are great loans. Unsubsidized means that there's going to be interest that accrues. Often families will ask financial aid administrators, what can we do? We don't have a lot of funds to help, but what can we do? You can help the students pay the unsubsidized interest while they're in school, so that all they have to repay when they leave school is just the amount that they borrowed. Some other students are very astute and they go ahead and make payments on their student loans while they're in school and establish credit. Nobody says you can't. Oftentimes people think you can't because most people want to defer that. But there are lots of options with student loans, and I'm not trying to advocate them. My goal is so that you're comfortable and understand the resource that's out there and it's available if you need to utilize it. Once again, work study is a really great program. And there will not be every student that has work study eligibility. It's also a need-based award, and that means that based on the income of the family, we will award work study at UNT. And pretty much every school that you're going to go to is going to have a way that they're going to use the work study funds that are made available to the school to partner. So let's say we have $100. What happens with work study is that the government, the federal government or the state government gives us a portion of that $100. And then that way, wherever you're working on campus, whether it's in the biology lab or whether it's in the political science department or whether it's in the career center, they don't have to pay as much. And so they have more, their funds can go further to help more students be able to get education to put on their resume, employment while they're going to school. Because for an employer, a student that graduates and has employment experience to share, and that helps them know if they're going to be a good employee that they want to take an interest in and they want to take a chance on. Next slide, please, ma'am. Okay, let's talk about completing the federal application. So just like you have to file taxes every year, the FAFSA and the TAFSA are based on tax information. And so when you file your taxes, you need to file a FAFSA. And I'm going to talk in a minute, but everything is an annual process. So you want to file the federal application if you can, or TAFSA if you can't file the federal application. You also want to complete scholarship applications every year, because if you don't complete the scholarship application, they can't consider you. It doesn't mean you're going to be awarded, but you have to take the action and go forward and submit the application to be considered. This is a really good slide to take a snip of if you want, something to write down. Just keeping in mind when you're doing this every year. So for example, it says that third bullet down there, it says use prior income information. And what that means is, so we're in 2026, and that means the government is going to not use 2025. They're going to use 2024. So that's the prior income information that they're going to use when you complete the federal application. If you haven't already completed the federal application, I don't want you to be deterred by that priority date that is there that the state has set. We want you to go ahead and submit it because, like I said, we're going to keep awarding until we run out of funds. And if there are funds that come back because somebody decided not to attend or they became ill and can't attend for whatever reason, we want to go back and award those funds. So we want you to go ahead and submit an application. I've worked with hundreds of thousands of families over the past 30 plus years when I've been in financial aid. And the most important thing to know is just submit the application. You just never know when there's going to be a resource that's going to be available that you might be able to use that eligibility. Lots of families think, well, all I have is loan eligibility. Sometimes life happens and you need to access that loan eligibility. If you've already completed the application and something happens and you need to access those funds, you can do it much more quickly, not just at UNT, at any school where you're going. Let's try the next one, please. Okay, this is a quick note here just to talk about who is going to complete a FAFSA or who's going to complete a TAFSA. And certainly at UNT, you can ask us questions, individual questions about this. You can certainly put questions in the chat. And again, I'm going to have a slide at the very end that is going to tell you exactly how to contact us, because we want you to know there are resources out there to answer your questions. Don't want you to feel like you're kind of down a rabbit hole and you don't have resources to have information about what makes a student eligible to complete the FAFSA. This is one of those that you can snip with your phone if you would like to give you a really good idea. I'm not going to read it to you, but basically U.S. citizen, U.S. national, and then there are some unique situations that they've given us the opportunity to consider. And we're always thankful when we have those unique situations we can expand who can be considered for the FAFSA. The next one, please. Scholarships is near and dear to my heart. I've done scholarships for many years. And something to be aware of in terms of scholarships. Almost at every school, there are going to be 3 different ways that you're going to be considered for scholarships. And so over there on the right, those bullets, those boxes are very deliberate. So that top box is what we refer to as our institutional scholarship application. At UNT, it's called the Eagle Scholarship Portal. It's available annually after students are admitted to UNT. You can apply for available scholarships. A large number of scholarships generally have somewhere around a March 1, March 15th deadline. That doesn't mean that there aren't other later deadlines, but as you know, there are things we need to do every year to get students awarded, and it also helps the families plan for what they need resources for to plan to go to school the next fall. So you want to always complete your institution's general application. You want to explore the departments that you're interested in majoring in. Just go online and type in UNT Political Science Department, UNT Art Department. And you're going to find when you go to those websites that we have made that information as readily accessible to you about the department awards. I'm going to tell you that most of the departments are going to focus their awards on students that have committed to that major. And so it may be that they award mostly upperclassmen, but what you want to do is, just like I said before, annually you want to complete the federal application, annually you want to complete scholarship applications. And so no matter what, if you don't apply, they can't consider you. Sometimes things change with scholarships and they don't have anyone that's eligible for a certain application. And so you just want to always take advantage of that opportunity. A really huge resource that is varied all the time is external scholarship opportunities. There are just 4 little quick snips there: private organizations, civic organizations, your parents' employers, different religious affiliates. There are infinite possibilities out there for external scholarships. What I'm going to encourage you to do is go to our website. And just like I said, if you figure out about our website or figure out about what goes on at UNT, it's probably going to help you if you're going to go somewhere else. But just scholarships.unt.edu and you can get to anything that we have. If you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see external scholarships and resources. And we have some really great information out there. The thing to know about external scholarships is you want to develop a plan. You want to have your own plan. So what's your interest? I'm interested in being an art major and I want to teach kids. And so if you go to Google and you type in scholarships for art majors, kindergarten through 6th grade, they're going to come back opportunities that you can apply for. Every scholarship application has a pretty general, similar process. Once you get a couple of different essays that you write, you can tweak those depending on what the application wants you to do. I'm going to encourage you always know that anything you submit with a scholarship, if it is not done well, it's unlikely to get you the consideration that you have worked hard for. So you want to utilize tools. If you write out an essay, dump it in as simple as Microsoft Word or anything like that so that it will help you with the edits so you can put your best foot forward. So I could talk about scholarships forever and we can go over questions in the chat for sure, but let's go to the next one, okay? Okay, so I want everybody to feel comfortable preparing to apply. And so at UNT and at any school, there's going to be a school code. And so right there in the middle of this slide is UNT school code. If you have not yet completed the federal application, that is the code you're going to need so that when you complete the application, the bucket where that application is going to go is UNT's. And so every Tuesday morning about 4 a.m., we're going to pull in all those applications that said they wanted the application to come to UNT. Again, it's going to be prior income tax return year, which is 2024. There are some additional notes right there, depending on different families, what you might have to have. And so the FAFSA is very much, it has come a long way. The very first year I was ever in financial aid was the very first year that they ever had an online application. Really scary. There were only like 600 the very first year. And we're very thankful for all of the improvements. And I think lots of times in the media, they talk about the things that are negative, but studentaid.gov and what they have done to make the process more streamlined and simplified based on what I've been through to get to this point is really amazing. So one of the things you're going to do is you're going to set up an account at studentaid.gov. The student's going to need an account and the contributor is going to need an account. And so we want you to do that right now if you haven't already done it. Even if you don't know if you're going to apply, if you go out there and set up that account, you'll be ready to go just in case you want to apply. Next slide, please. Okay, here is just some more detail. I encourage you, if you've got your phone, make a snip of this. This is one of those that has some really good information specific. What we do every year is we attempt to kind of get a bucket of all the different things that we get questions about. Okay, and this is one of those. So you're going to create an ID, you're going to log in and start a new form, you're going to determine whether you're a dependent or an independent student, you're going to report your contributor, your parents' information, all the different things that are listed right there. And I'm not going to read them to you, but again, I'm going to say number 8 is really important. The UNT code is 003594. And folks, I see that have been some questions in the chat, and that's great. And I think Giovanna's going to help with those. We can go
Yep,
over them at the end.
I'm getting them. You,
You're
no
awesome.
worries.
Thank you. Okay, let's try the next one, please. Okay, so like I said, we kind of keep a list of all the things that are the most common questions. And we also keep a list of things to keep in mind because we want you to sort of be aware before you go down the path of doing something that's likely going to make it harder. Okay. Because the whole point of the process that we want you to be is comfortable, and we want you not to feel like it was so difficult. And so one of the most important things, these bullets right here, using a student's legal name, we want you to use the correct, not the incorrect social security number. We don't want you to guess income because sometimes when it matches against information, that just makes it harder for you to move forward. We want you to read and be very deliberate about how you're counting the people in your household size. If it doesn't all kind of match, it's going to mean that there's inconsistent information, and we're going to have to verify things to help you. You need to make sure that you provide consent of information. You need to make sure that you sign the application. We have, I would say those last 2 bullets, maybe the last 3, probably encompass about 70 or 75% of all the things that go the wrong way. And that's the whole thing that we want to help you with. Lots of times when you're in any application, just remember your phone is a great tool, but it's not how you need to complete the application. Go somewhere where you can access a computer, go somewhere where somebody's there with you, and always 2 heads are better than one. Make sure you scroll all the way down if you see a scroll bar on the right-hand side so that you're looking at everything that's there, because generally you're going to have to click something to be done. And oftentimes students will be like, oh my goodness, we were doing this and we got distracted and I bet I never did anything. And so it's just sitting there. And so unfortunately, lots of times what happens is it's been 3 or 4 weeks, they're calling us and they're like, well, we did this. And so when we go out there and see it, it's like, it's not done. Okay. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so I did the FAFSA. And so what's going to happen now? Okay, well, when you do the FAFSA and it goes through, the email that you use to access everything is going to send you an email and say, hey, we got your FAFSA. Usually it's going to come from a processing center. There are multiple processing centers all throughout the United States. And so depending on where you submit the FAFSA, that processing center is going to say, hey, we got it and we're good to send it to the school. Or, hey, we got it. There's additional action needed by you and you need to log back in. Okay. And so it's really important that you follow through and move through the process, because if you're not admitted to a school, you're not going to be considered for financial aid. And so admitted students at UNT are going to have to access and activate their Eagle Connect email. I'm going to encourage you, wherever you go, you're going to be given an email for that school. And the reason for that is that it allows you to have kind of your own bucket for everything that the school is going to talk to you about. And so the school, in our case, it's UNT, we want you to have a place to go back and access. And when you access your email, it also gives you access to all kinds of Microsoft products and where you're going to log in to get your assignments and all those different things. But we want to make sure that you have access to that information. And so using your school email is a really great tool, and keeping your private emails for private communication, not related to wherever you're going to go to school, is a really good idea. But once again, you need to be admitted to UNT. Okay. Once you're admitted, they're going to, when you log into what's called your My UNT portal and the task list, it's going to tell you what is a next step for you, or you're going to be able to see what's going on with your account. Let's go to the next slide, please. When you submit the federal application process is a baseline. It doesn't know anything about unique situations, special situations, but they do give the financial aid office the opportunity to deal with different situations that occur after a student has submitted a federal application. There's no way to not submit a federal application. The school needs whatever, whether it's UNT or any other school, they need the FAFSA application so that they can then go in and help you with the processes that the Department of Education has given us to help with those unique expenses. So changes in income, extraordinary expenses, or dependency situations, that can't go through the FAFSA. The school needs to help you with those unique situations. So at UNT, you can see there's a link down there below, but just like I said before, when you find scholarship information at UNT, it's scholarships.unt.edu. You can find financial aid information, financialaid.unt.edu. And right up at the top, it's going to have a menu, and one of the menu items is forms. And so you can go out there and look at the information, and it literally will take you step by step through the process, what you need to do to tell us after you have submitted the federal application and been admitted to UNT. That allows us to help you with these unique situations. Okay, let's keep some things in mind. We want to apply as early as possible. If you haven't already applied to UNT or other schools, we encourage you to do so, to be proactive on your own behalf. We want you to apply for financial aid and scholarships every year, annually, through all the situations that are available to you. We want you to monitor your studentaid.gov account for updates from the Department of Education, because once they get everything in place, they're going to send it to your school, whether it's UNT or another school. If you're coming to UNT, we want you to monitor your my.unt.edu, that's your portal, and also your Eagle Connect email. We want you to do that, really get comfortable with doing that, because that's how we communicate things that we're trying to do to help you, because the only reason that we're here is to help you be productive in what you're doing. And so if somebody is reaching out to you, whether it's the Career Center or the math department or whomever it is, they're trying to help you with something they know that there's a next step or there's an action item that they need your help with. We're going to encourage you to keep signed copies of all your tax returns and your W-2s, because we never know, and you're never going to know, if something updates with the federal application and you might be selected for a verification process. Sometimes things occur and we are not aware they're going to update information. We do want you to complete outstanding to-do list items and tasks items, but I'm going to tell you something that's really important. Once you're awarded financial aid, before you make any changes to your FAFSA, hear me when I say this. This is one of those things, whether it's at UNT or anywhere else. If you've been awarded financial aid, before you make changes to your FAFSA, reach out to your school and ask them, I need to do X. Should I make the changes or should the school make the changes? The reason this is really important is sometimes, depending on what you do, it might trigger an additional review. It might trigger additional time that's taken to get your federal application or your aid finalized. And so the goal being, once you've been awarded and the Department of Education sees corrections come back through, that just heightens their looking at that account. So we want you to be aware that once you've been awarded, connect with your school financial aid office and get them to tell you what action or steps or things that are needed based on your situation that you want to update in the FAFSA. It's okay to make updates, just be informed about what you're doing. Okay, let's go to the next one, please. Okay, let's get your phones out. And no matter what, I want you to get a copy of this. And I want to tell you just a little bit about what our process is. In that little picture that's right down there at the bottom at UNT, and I know that lots of schools have different areas, but literally what we do is we want you to have a place where you can ask questions. We want you to be comfortable doing that. And so the most important thing is to prepare yourself, know what the information is, and come and ask if you need to. However, we're not open 24 hours a day. And so if you look over there on the right side where it says scrappysays.unt.edu, that is a knowledge base, and you can go in there and ask it questions, and it'll help you determine information. You may not have to come and ask us. You may have other stuff to do, but you're more than welcome to go in there and ask questions and see all of the different articles that are there. And if you don't find the information that you need, you can ask a question in Scrappy Says. And so once again, if you need federal student aid information, know that the federal government, when you call that 1-800 number, they don't know about your individual school information. They don't know if you're admitted. They don't know what you have submitted. They can only really answer questions related to your federal application, okay? And so it's really important that, yes, you take the steps that you need to for the FAFSA, but then once you've done that and you've gotten information, that you connect with your school. Okay, so clearly I can talk a lot and for a long time. I know I've seen some questions come in the chat. And I bet Giovanna has gotten you all answered with those questions, but I'm happy to answer individual questions. If anyone would like to ask a specific question, I'm more than happy to answer those.
We really only had one in the chat, and it was just to get clarification about the dates. The FAFSA for current seniors, 20 class of 2026, it opened back in October.
Yes,
And though the Texas priority deadline was January 15th, that doesn't mean that schools aren't still awarding. Schools are still awarding.
100%, Giovanna. It's really important for everybody to understand that every state has their own priority deadline. And so there is no such thing as a perfect deadline. Okay. And again, even though there's a deadline, if we still have money, we're going to keep awarding until we spend all that money. And
Mhm.
there are lots of students that change their mind. Lots of students, and you may be one of them, they apply to multiple schools. And so they may decide, I'm not coming here. And so when we know that we have additional funds, we're going to go back out there and spend them. Because again, my goal is net zero. We don't want to have resources that we haven't awarded to someone. So if you go ahead and apply, and let's say you applied, we're going to keep awarding based on the date that you applied. So today is February the 3rd. We're going to pull in an additional set of applications next Tuesday, and we're going to keep awarding students based on the funds that we still have available.
You don't want to wait too much longer because of what you said, based on the funds you have available. Once those
Absolutely.
funds have been dispersed, then at that point it would be too late. So if
Well,
you haven't done it, you're still okay. But I want you to, it's why we do one of these sessions in
Absolutely.
February. We did our first session back in the fall, but I like to do another one in February to catch folks who maybe haven't yet, to remind you guys that there's still time.
And also just to remember, every student has student loan eligibility. And so that is never going to go away. And so there also can be scholarship programs that require that you complete the FAFSA.
Hmm.
That's why I just can't stress enough. Every year you have to file taxes, file your FAFSA,
Hmm.
submit scholarship applications. It's just something that you need to do every year.
Yes. Now we have a question that comes up. I think it's a great question. How does it work for students with divorced parents? Does the application have to include the income from both?
It does not.
Mhm.
It is going to walk you through that process. I mean, it is very deliberate. And so it is going to very much focus on the student, the parent that you are living with, and those resources from that household. And very specifically, we encourage you. It has a really great tool when you're walking through. Don't presume, click through it, let yourself be walked through it, because sometimes we can sit here and talk about scenarios, but there's some little nuance that's unique. So when you go through the FAFSA and there's a dependency, it goes through and it walks you through each part of that process. Please, we encourage you to review it and make sure that you're not just presuming, oh, I heard I need to do this. You need to do it based on your situation because it's your unique situation. And you can't know that until you actually enter the information and walk through the process.
I just want to second that. I'm also a parent of a college student, and I've done the FAFSA twice now with my own student, and it was revamped a few years ago. That first year, it was a little rough, but since then, it is actually very smooth, and it will ask you very specific questions to help walk you through what your unique situation might be. It really is much more user friendly than it was even 3 or 4 years ago.
And they just keep tweaking it every year
Hmm.
based on
Hmm.
the situations that they come up against, because things change, policies change and different things change. So it really is a good opportunity to make sure that you're going through it based on your individual situation.
Anything else? If you would like to unmute yourself, you can, if that's an easier way for you to answer your question, to ask your question. If you want to unmute yourself, you can, or if you want to pop another question in the chat, we're going to hang out here for a few more minutes and see if there are any more questions. And if not, like I said, I'm going to have this recording available. Usually takes me a few days to get it edited together, but I will have the recording available if you want to go back and review what was said here tonight. I think we may be done with our questions. Lisa, I do appreciate your time and your thorough information. One more plug for UNT. It is a great option for our Plano students. They have a preview day coming up on March 21st, which is the second Saturday in spring break. So that's a great opportunity to go visit UNT. We got another question
We do.
for students looking to go to college in 2027. So that would be someone who is a junior right now. When can they start with their application? So this would be a current junior. When would they start with their application?
So for a school, most schools
Mm-hmm.
in Texas are able to admit students after they've completed what are called 6 terms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the July after your junior year, you should be able to apply for the upcoming year. That's generally the timeline that the Texas Common App and Apply Texas utilize.
Now that's applying for admission, right?
Right, applying for admission.
Mm-hmm.
Every year in October, the FAFSA comes available, and the FAFSA will be for the next academic year. One of the things you need to be aware of, if different schools have a different start term. So for UNT and lots of schools, fall is their first term.
Mhm.
Okay. So, for example, for students that are seniors right now and they're going to start fall 26, that's the first term of our academic year. Fall, spring, and summer is one academic year. So, the academic year and the FAFSA are the same. So, the 2026-2027 academic year, you're going to file the 2026-2027 FAFSA. It's not going to use the same income information every year. So for next year's FAFSA, it'll be available next October for students that are going to start in fall 27. And I saw the question come up quickly, and I'm not sure I saw the whole thing, but does that answer the questions,
I think
Giovanna?
it does. So this would be the parent of a junior. This is a great time to be getting this information because you're going to be ready to go.
Absolutely.
Um, I know for a fact that UNT starts sending out financial aid decisions before winter break if you apply in the fall. We had our financial aid and scholarship information from you guys before Christmas. So if
Okay.
you get in there early, you'll have your information. And as a 2027 parent, you've got an advantage because you'll have this information going in. We have a
Absolutely.
question about family size. I think this is a good one. So when it comes to income, is it only based on the parents? So let's say I'm in a household and I've got some older siblings or someone else who lives in a household who works, but they're not my actual parent. Would the income for the FAFSA just be my parents?
It would be what they call contributors. Okay. And
Okay.
so that is going to be generally your parents.
Hmm.
You're not going to consider income. For example, multi-generational families. So,
Yes,
so
like
let
if grandma lives there.
that's right.
Uh-huh.
Some grandparents still work,
Hmm.
absolutely, or they get Social Security or retirement. No, those are not resources. The federal application is built to consider how they can help you with your parents' income and then consider you for available programs. So federal programs, um, they morph a bit over time, but generally they're always going to be there and they're going to be a base. And so you are dependent if your parents are available to you, or if they're deceased, then you can be considered potentially as an independent student. But again, once you complete start the FAFSA, the second, once you put your name, your social security number, then it's going to start saying to develop your dependency status. And that's what's really important. Those questions are really important, and they're going to walk you through, well, who is the contributor for your FAFSA? Is it your
Yes.
mom? Is it just your mom? Is it your mom and your dad? Is it your mom and your stepdad, or vice versa? And I saw it's like popping up, but I'm not seeing it very fast. So I hate to try to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're talking and I'm reading. I think that was a good answer to that. So we've got another one that kind of is along the same lines of the we've got a parent who lives in the country and then a parent who lives outside of the country. I think this is still going to go back to that your primary custodial parent, but also as you're doing the FAFSA, it's going to ask you those
It
specific
is.
questions
It
that
is.
will help it's going to answer this for you, almost like you were talking to an AI prompt, where
That's
it's going to ask you, who do you live with? Who provides most of your um, support, married, divorce, and then it'll base that. But please add to that, Lisa.
Um, so let's say that one parent lives in the US and one parent lives
Yes.
abroad. It
Mhm.
is going to ask you about that parent that lives abroad, and if they're married, then it is going to walk you through that process. Because just like your parent that lives in the United States, that parent that lives abroad has to file a US tax return from their abroad earnings. Okay.
Mhm.
So, again, I can't stress enough, read through the guidance. As you're going through that, I don't want to inadvertently not say something based on your individual situation. It's so important. They give you the opportunity to select from all kinds of scenarios. So, be aware and be engaged when you're doing it. Don't just think, oh, I'll click this. That right there, you have no idea how many parents and students I've talked to over time, and the parent will say, oh, well, I just answered this. And I'm like, I understand that that's what you answered, but they can't determine what you knew based on how you answered. So you have to know that they are going to react based on what you tell them. They can only know what you tell them. And so, absolutely, if you get stuck, that's why that contact center is there. There is literally a ton of information online. If you type in a question, you go to studentaid.gov and you type in a question, what if this? It is going to give you as many resources as you have time to read to walk you through that process. And so lots of students and parents, which is great, go before and they type in all their questions and kind of get all their information ready. So it kind of makes them feel more comfortable when they see how it's prompting them to answer the questions. And certainly always a great idea to do that. I think there's even, you can almost do a whole pretend FAFSA online to go out there and estimate and do different things. Lots of different resources out there. Does that get you squared away on that last one?
I think we're good. We're really encouraging them. It does not hurt to do the FAFSA. A worst case scenario, you might find out you're not qualified for grants, but then, like Lisa
That's right.
said, if in the event that something happens and you need a loan, you've got that availability. But and it is also a graduation requirement in the state of Texas now
That's
to
right.
complete the FAFSA or submit an opt-out form. So it does not hurt to go in and have your student do their part, and then they will pass it off to you, and then you do your part, and then you will find out what you qualify for based on that information and how it prompts you through it. Okay, I think that might be it, Lisa. Um,
Guys, I will leave you with one last thing. Wherever you're going to go, I encourage you, take advantage of the resources at your school. Learn about time management. Know that you're getting an education so that you can go into your career. And anyone that tells you you're not going to have a good experience if you work while you're going to school is not aware of how much that helps you manage your time while you're going to
mhm,
school. So I
mhm.
encourage you, if you haven't been working already, to explore something on the campus and get past that first kind of flutter about getting a job and getting some experience and finding that thing that's going to make you happy and be your forever employment. So thanks so much,
Well, with
guys.
that, I think we're going to end our session. Again, thank you so very much. This was wonderful. You explained things so well. Your UNT has always been a wonderful partner to Plano ISD, and so I'm thankful for you for being here tonight.
Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Okay, have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.